What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. So today I will be continuing in my top 5 draft players position series with the offensive tackles up in this video. Now, this class of tackles is surprisingly deep and still has some really legit blue chip level prospects at the very top of the class as well. So let's go ahead and get into it with number 5. And at number 5, I have Daniel Faalele, and Faalele is one of my favorite prospects in this entire draft class, just because of how freaky he really is, okay? At 6'9" and 385 pounds, which is actually down in weight. He was 400 pounds at one point. He just really has more than enough size to be a dominant NFL player at the next level, and his strength will be overwhelming, even for a lot of NFL defensive linemen, and that's very exciting to me. I just love guys that you don't see very often, and we really have never seen a guy quite like Daniel Faalele. He can handle bull rushes with ease. He is dominant in the run game, especially if he can get his hands on guys at the second and third levels of the defense. However, his problems arise when you start to analyze his technique, especially compared with his lateral quickness as well. He will struggle to handle speed rushers at the next level. He can be clunky when he moves around sometimes. He also struggles to line up guys at the next level of defenses, allowing linebackers to sort of slip around him sometimes, which will reduce the dominant physical impact he can have at climbing to that next level and getting to the second and third levels of the defense, because he struggles to actually line those guys up and get his hands on them. Now, when he does, it is ugly, but sometimes he just completely whiffs on those guys. He's also going to struggle with, just being as physical as you would want to see from him at his size. Now, for a guy his size, you would really want to see him just be a real nasty physical player, really finish blocks off with a real, an edge about him. And he just doesn't really have that edge that you would love to see from a big mauling offensive lineman like he is. And so that's something that I really wish you could see more of from him, especially with his size and skill set, but it's something that he's somewhat lacking. But as his raw physical size advantage is going to dwindle some at the next level, and then the detriments from that size, such as his lack of lateral quickness and his slower, clunkier feet, that's going to begin to become more and more prevalent at the next level as well. So you should expect Faalele to take some time to really adjust to the next level, get proper NFL level coaching, and figure out what he can and can't get away with in the NFL. But I see him as a quality second-round draft pick who could end up slipping into the third or fourth round, depending on who you ask and where you think he's going to go. I would see him as an absolute steal at that point in the draft. Honestly, I think even in the second round, he's a very good pick. And if he's used properly and coached up well, Faalele has the raw physical ability to become a legit franchise NFL offensive tackle in a couple of years. Which brings me to number 4, and at number 4 I have Trevor Penning, and Penning is someone who has no issues with being that nasty blocker that you want to see, with a real mean streak in his game, and I love that from him. Coming out of Northern Iowa, there are going to be some concerns and questions about his game just due to the competition he's gone up against, but man, if you put on the tape, you can see some really vicious play from him at the offensive line spot. At 6'7", 325 pounds, he has all of the size that you would look for in a prototypical offensive tackle at the next level, and he uses it to his advantage as well. I mean, he is particularly effective in the running game, where his real mean streak and physical nature can really shine through as he just mauls people out of the way to clear massive holes for the running backs. Penning also possesses very good natural athleticism and lateral quickness that will definitely help him in translating to the next level, and it's going to help out his pass protection quite a lot once he gets coached up. However, he does often completely lose his technique. He'll get completely lost on the field at times. He'll whiff assignments, and his footwork and leverage positioning isn't always the best. He can get really far out over his skis, sometimes being too aggressive reaching for a block, blow assignments, things like that. But once you really get him that proper NFL level coaching, then I think you combine that with his just natural physical tools, because he has the physical athleticism to be a very technical blocker, And, you take that, you combine those physical tools with better coaching and that mean attitude and size that he already has, and Penning has a very real shot to be a franchise tackle for somebody at the next level. I expect to see him go in the mid to late first round, somewhere between 15 and 25 probably. And really anywhere outside of the top 10, I would see Penning as a very good pick for anybody who needs an offensive tackle. At number 3, Charles Cross, and Cross is one of the very best pass blockers you will see coming out of the college ranks, and he has all of the physical tools to carry that into the NFL as well. At 6'5", 307 pounds, he possesses very long arms that complement his pass blocking quite well, and he has a plenty of athleticism to go around, which really allows him to match up with almost any defender, whether they're more of a power rusher or a speed rusher. He can kind of match up with all of them. He can be your Swiss Army knife at the offensive tackle spot. His run blocking is somewhat less impressive, but it is still quite good. I mean, he finishes blocks very well. He has great explosion off the ball, and he's very aggressive in the run game as well, but that can, really allow him to overwhelm his opponents at times. But also, his technique in the run game is a little bit lacking, and I think somewhat due to that aggression and explosion he shows getting off the ball in the run game. He often allows people to sort of slide underneath him and get inside of him to make tackles for a loss, and he sometimes finds himself out of leverage where he can really get kind of grab happy, which leads to a lot of holding penalties. Overall, though, those issues can all be ironed out pretty easily at the next level with good NFL coaching and much more experience playing the position. And Cross should walk in and be a day one starter at the NFL level. He should translate, long term into a high level NFL franchise tackle in a few years. He walks in already as one of the better pass blockers you're going to have on any offensive line, and then you take that, you coach him up, you get his run blocking better, you get him used to the game. I could really see him being a NFL franchise tackle within his first couple of years in the league. I don't expect him to take too much time on the learning curve there. And I really would expect him to go right around that top 10. I could see him falling as low as 15, but to me that's a stretch at this point. I see him hanging out right around that number 10 spot, depending on what teams, go where above them and stuff like that. But I see him as basically a top 10 pick. And that brings me to number 2. That is Ekim Ekwanu, and Ekwanu is a surefire top 10 pick out of NC State. He is one of the prospects with the least amount of weaknesses in this entire class. He also has great flexibility in the fact that he can play guard or tackle at the next level, which adds a lot to his draft stock, because even if you draft him and he quote-unquote busts at tackle, you can just slide him into guard and he works just as well there, and he's much more of a sure thing than a lot of the other guys will be. At 6'4", 310 pounds, he has that size to play tackle, but like I said, he could also slide inside just as well, and he has excellent athleticism and film at tackle. I mean, he excels in pass protection, but his run blocking is even better. That is the real strength of his game. He is a legit mauler who finishes blocks with the very best of them, and he uses his frame incredibly well. NC State literally ran most of their rushing offense through him last year, and it's easy to see why. I could see another NFL team doing that, honestly, after they draft him and get him in the building. He has great arm length, which helps out a lot in pass protection, but he also uses it very well in the running game on reach blocks and things like that. And he's going to need to refine his technique some at the next level, particularly in pass protection, where you can sort of see him get confused at times. His footwork's not great. He can get out leverage, things like that. And I do love his physical edge because he has an outstanding physical edge. It can get him into trouble sometimes where he's too aggressive, and that'll cause him to lose his technique even more. Overall, though, he is a surefire top 10 pick to me. He's a day one starter at the next level, should translate into a top-level franchise tackle, or even a guard, depending on wherever he lands and where they decide to use him. But he's a very exciting prospect and easily worth a top 10 pick in my opinion. And that brings me to the number 1 offensive tackle in this year's draft class for me, and it's Evan Neal. And to me, Neal is clearly the top tackle in this class. He is a certified freak who has legit top 5 level talent in this class. At 6'7", 340 pounds, his athleticism simply just doesn't make sense to me. And I know he didn't really test much at the combine, so you didn't get to see a lot of it. But if you watch some of the videos of his workouts, for example, the now pretty famous split box jump that he did, which is just insane that he could do something like that at his size. If you haven't seen the video, go look it up. It's freaky. But if you look at that, plus just his on-the-field tape, you can see his athleticism. It's just incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And his film is honestly even more impressive. Like I said, it's obvious that he is a true technician as a lineman. He's not just a guy who relies solely on his physical prowess. Even though he has that in bunches, he also plays incredibly sound in both pass protection and in run blocking. And occasionally he'll get a little bit high or will get a little bit out of leverage and make a mistake here and there. But it's somewhat rare, and at his size, it's sort of to be expected. Luckily, though, he has the raw talent to just make up for those mistakes when he does make them, and he brings a very physical presence to the position as well. He has that bad attitude that you love to see out of an NFL offensive lineman, and overall, there just aren't really any holes in his game. There's nothing that he doesn't do well. He's very good at everything. He has all of the physical tools, all of the athletic tools. He played in the SEC his whole career. He was coached by some of the best at Alabama, and his technique is outstanding. He is a lock for the top 10 at the absolute worst. There's a very good chance he could go as high as the top 3 or the top 5. He's one of the better tackle prospects that I've seen in a while, and I fully expect him to translate his dominance in college to the NFL level with relative ease as far as that, transition from college to NFL goes. Evan Neal is my top offensive tackle in the class. So, that'll do it for this video. Let me know down below what you guys think about this year's offensive tackle class, what you also think about my rankings, where you agree, where you disagree, and why. Also, if you've made it this far in the video, go ahead and leave a like because it helps out the channel tremendously, and subscribe for more content in the future as I will continue to be uploading very regularly going forward. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.